Hi, everybody. Paige Smith with NASCAR Network. We're here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania today at Independence Hall with democracyspring.org as they kick off their march to D.C. right here live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We'll be here all day bringing you those interviews and those stories that help support their cause for what they're trying to accomplish in changing how elections are run today and the billions of dollars that are sponsored into the federal electorate process. Guys, hi, Paige Smith with NASCAR Network. I'm here with Rick and Hugh, and we're here at the democracyspring.org, the beginning of the March on D.C. Guys, tell me, why is this so important to you?
We founded our country over the issue of improper representation. And our founders, right behind me, worked hard to get it right and set up a governmental system that would serve its citizens and represent us properly. Unfortunately, the dependence on the people that Madison and our founders envisioned has dwarfed into a dual dependence, a dependence on money that has become more important than depending on the people. And representation is getting skewed under the present system toward the interests of the wealthy, and it's up to us as citizens to resurrect and rescue and reclaim and restructure our democracy.
And you're part of the Ethics Society here in Philly, is that correct?
Right, the Ethical Society of Philadelphia down on Rittenhouse Square, and I agree with everything you say, and you're doing the walk, so kudos off to you. I can't make that walk myself. For me, the most important thing is the fact that our democracy is broken. I mean, I don't think it's rich versus poor. I think even the rich want a democracy that works, but at the moment, money is, even the candidates themselves say that they can't get away from it. 95% of incumbents are reelected. That's crazy. Most legislators say that they spend about 2/3 of their time raising money. They can't even do the job that we're paying them to do. So that's got to end. There are hundreds of different ways it can happen, but it's got to be something that every American believes has to happen.
Now, for us to be in this position today, where this is such a big, focus for the average day or the everyday citizen, we didn't get to this point in our democracy overnight. What do you think went wrong?
Well, a lot of it's just you take a look at the courts with Buckley versus Vallejo in '76 and Citizens United. You had a constant effort to try to roll back the reforms. The Princeton study shows that legislation is passed based on the interests of the wealthy. So it's not based on public opinion anymore. So it's simply money talks, period.
And I would add that our Supreme Court, in the whole line of decisions, starting with Buckley versus Vallejo, that speak to money in politics and how that relates to my speech and yours, has forgotten that in interpreting money and linking it with speech, we have undermined the representation that we founded our country to provide. And they have gone in a very wayward direction and need to come back around.
Now, I know Rick is actually marching to D.C., so we wish you all the best.
Safe, that's the key.
Be safe, that's the key. And when we get to D.C., we're going to look for you. Now, Alejandra is the logistics coordinator for the iRise.org and the democracyspring.org movement here today. Tell us, what goes on behind the scenes in putting together a march of this magnitude?
Well, we can start with a very small team of dedicated volunteers, which we call interns. A small team, probably like 4 or 5 people, really being on the phone every day, on the phone, Googling numbers, who can we contact, who can house us, who can donate food. This is a march of the people. Like, the resources from the people are going to make this march what it is. We have, over 1,000 people confirmed to get arrested in D.C., and we have around 200 people that are going to be marching daily. So it's been very rewarding now that it has started, but it's been a lot of work, a lot of headbutts when we don't get anybody who can house us and when there's no food. But we're every day literally working. We wake up at the movement house where we live with 20 other people. That's where we live, and that's where we work, and that's all we do. We wake up, meetings at 8:30, all the way till 2, 3 in the morning, and I joined the team about 3 weeks ago, coming from Arizona, so shout outs to Arizona, and we've been working really, really hard, and it's a very small team, and we have a lot of folks that have been volunteering in their areas, along the route, so shout out to that, and but it's really just committed folks that want money out of politics, that want their democracy back, that want the democracy to represent us. So
now, you say you joined 3 weeks ago, but I'm assuming this has been going on from a planning perspective much longer than 3 weeks. What's the timeline been?
Probably, I would say around a little bit before, so November, so kind of a little bit, but really actually like putting the movement together and the people in one place, I think like the beginning of February.
Now, how many people are you expecting once you get to DC?
We're expected to have, as just marchers,
Yes.
a little over 200.
Okay.
To meet, they're going to welcome us, and we're going to meet all the thousands of people that are going to be in DC getting committed, to get arrested.
Okay. And final thoughts on how you'd like people to, as a logistics coordinator, how you would like people to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Please. I feel like I'm like. Email me, alepablo713@gmail.com if you have any resources, especially in Maryland. We're still working really hard. We have, some housing and some food, but there's little things that we have gaps in. So if anybody along the route, go to democracyspring.org, look at the map, look at our route, and in those Maryland rural areas, we need all the support. If folks can come and help feed us, open up their homes, like you guys can contact me. Actually, we have a Democracy Spring Logistics Gmail, so do that instead. But yeah, definitely help us out. We're still moving along while we're marching, and over the 10 days, the logistics team is still focusing on making sure all these days are as planned and that we have all the resources we need.
I'm here with John Poole from democracyspring.org. John, tell us, what's your role in today's organization?
Well, we actually were a supporting organization for this event. I'm with a group called Wolfpack. It's a national group. We're trying to get a limited constitutional convention around money and politics and corruption in D.C. Basically, we've already got 4 states passed for that, and once we get 2/3 of the states, then Congress has to throw this convention to help, fix our democracy. So I encourage everyone to check out wolf-pack.com, and in Pennsylvania, we know it's PA-United-to-Amend.org, and get out there and do that. We had a lot of support staff that we brought to this event because it's still important to raise awareness for this issue, and nothing raises awareness like thousands of people getting arrested. And I actually just had a guy, he's keeping it a secret, but he's gonna get married there. Yeah, so it's gonna make a big impact.
Now you're here at what looks like a registration desk. What's going on here at the desk?
We're asking people to volunteer. Whether they're in Pennsylvania or other states. We're in 40 states, so we have teams, all volunteers. Everybody devotes all their time. They don't get a cent. We don't even get expenses for copies. Just 15 minutes a week volunteering with our group can help get this constitutional convention to be a reality. And we can go around to corrupt Congress by going through the states that way.
Now, how you're organizing at the state level, who's championing that, and how can people get involved with that process?
Well, I'm the state director, and then we have a group of about 12 organizers who's working on that. We're all volunteers. We get a little bit of logistics and website stuff from the group, which is all based on a membership. People join as members to support our group. We don't take any money from anyone. That's basically how it happens. It starts out with people signing up, and then, we ask them to call their state rep and their state senator, and then they get more involved as they can. And it really is been a great thing. We've made a lot of great relationships with legislators. We have Republicans and Democrats equally supporting us in the House, and a lot of different Republicans and Democrats in the Senate also supporting us, about 30% of the Senate. So we're making waves, but we need more people to get this through because it's not easy to get reform. So.
We're here with Kai Newkirk, the director for 99rise.org. Is that correct? That's right. And we're here today supporting the democracyspring.org's march on Washington, D.C. You've got a lot going on, man. Tell us about it.
Oh, we're excited here. Here at the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, where the dream of democracy in our country took flight, you could say. And we believe that this march, there's over 100 people that are going to walk the whole way here from Philadelphia to D.C. to the nation's capital, that it can be the beginning of the end of the corruption and inequality in our democracy. And that is what we need it to be. That's what we're fighting for.
Now, I know Democracy Spring has partnered with a number of organizations. Tell me how you guys are organized, how you guys are funded. How did all this come together?
Well, it started with 99rise, the organization that I co-founded. We had a dream and a vision of what we needed to do, and reached out to other leaders, other organizations, connected with avaz.org, which is a wonderful international progressive organization, and then started to build a coalition that brought together many different leaders and many different organizations from many different movements who all see that we have a common interest in the fight to save our democracy. That on all these different fronts, whether it's the fight for 15, for a living wage, for a union, whether it's dealing with climate change, whether it's addressing mass incarceration, right? Across the board, we are being blocked from winning reform because the moneyed interests that profit from the status quo are able to use their money to buy political power and prevent change. And so we brought people together with the idea that we needed to win this fight to make progress for us all, and that we weren't going to win it without using the power of mass nonviolent action. And I think that dream and that vision is compelling to people, because when you look at history in our country, you see that we haven't made progress until people have been willing to step up and do that.
Now, when you look at our current primary process, with Hillary Clinton getting billions of dollars in donations and sponsors, and all the Republicans on the same thing with super PACs, and you have Bernie Sanders, the guy who's getting $25 here, $30 there. What is your organization's views on the current political process?
Well, we're a nonpartisan campaign, right? We're an independent campaign. We believe to win progress on this, we have to build an independent movement. But we are not an amoral campaign. We draw the line that Trump has crossed the line of decency into the realm of fascism and hate, and our conservative brothers and sisters, we call upon them to make that clear. But what we're trying to do is build a movement that all the candidates have to endorse, right? That all the candidates have to stand alongside if they want to have the public support, right? Because when we march all this way to D.C. and we say we're going to sit in here at the Capitol unless Congress does something or not, and people see hundreds of people going to jail day after day simply for demanding an equal voice, we want to dramatize this issue in a way that moves people to take a stand and makes the public ask, where does someone who wants to represent me stand on this issue? And every candidate should have to decide, are they on the side of democracy and the people, or on the side of big money and corruption?
So you tapped into a very, very important point. We tend to focus on the presidential campaigns, but big money goes as far down as to who's running for mayor. So if you look at and you can forecast, the movement is successful, and the organization that you've come together across this country, your goals and objectives are successful. What does the new electorate look like in your worldview?
The new electorate?
Well, the new process.
Okay. Well, the first thing is we have to change the way our elections are funded. We have to get rid of this wealth primary, this money primary that only the super rich can play in, and make us all be able to participate as equal funders as well as voters. So that means citizen or public financing, right? So that anybody, a teacher, a student, a plumber, can run for office and has the access to be able to raise the money that they need from everyone, not relying on the billionaire class, right? We can make that happen with legislation that could be passed right now. We also need to amend the Constitution to overturn Citizens United, McCutcheon, and these other rulings, so we can say no when billionaires and corporations want to drop $10 million in some city campaign, right, to drown out everyone's voices. They shouldn't have the right to do that, because that offends political equality and it corrupts our system.
Now, for people, let me interrupt you for a second. For people who aren't, up to date and informed on Citizens United, why is it important that Citizens United pretty much be eliminated? Why is that important?
Well, it was a Supreme Court decision that basically empowered corporations, billionaires, unions, in conjunction with another decision from a lower court called Speech Now. It created super PACs, right? It created a way for people to put unlimited amounts of money into the campaigns of people that are running for office through a form of organization that's considered to be independent from the candidate, the super PAC, but is essentially running a major part of their campaign, right? So it gave a way for them to put unlimited amounts of money, and it's led to a huge increase in the amount that billionaires can put in. One, Sheldon Adelson in the 2012 election, I think, spent over $110 million of his own money, right? What are we supposed to do in the face of that? So we have to overturn that, because what it has done is made it impossible for Congress or our legislatures to pass any laws that regulate spending in our elections to ensure political equality and prevent corruption. But beyond that, we have to also recognize that there's an assault on the right to vote in our country. After generations of blood, sweat, and tears to bring people into the process, right? There have been voter suppression laws passed in almost half the states in the Union since the Supreme Court decided in the Shelby County versus Holder decision to gut the Voting Rights Act, which was so hard won through the Civil Rights Movement. And so they're passing all these laws that make it harder for people to vote. Look at what we just saw in Arizona, right? Hours and hours people standing in line and couldn't vote, right? That is a preview of what we're going to see, right? There are millions of people in our country that are disenfranchised because of that, and we have to stand up and say the right to vote is sacred. No one's going to take it away, and we're going to pass bills to protect it and expand it. It should be as easy to vote in this country as it is to sign up and get on Facebook, right? So that's what we need to have. We need a system that's based on one person, one vote, political equality. That's the promise of democracy. That's the dream that was put down on paper here at the Liberty Bell, and that's what we're fighting for.
Now, as we see many stories play out on major networks, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, what type of coverage is your organization getting? And is it something that you believe is being, from a coverage perspective, you're not getting the attention that you get, or what's your feelings on that?
It's growing, We're doing well. Someone supporting the campaign was on CNN the other day. MSNBC has covered what we're doing. NPR's here. You're here. When you build something, especially with the power of social media now, that resonates with the people, right? You can make it such a thing that the corporate media and the big mainstream media, they will lose credibility at a certain point, okay, if they don't cover it and pay attention to something that's real and that's happening that people care about. CNN, what is their slogan? The most trusted name in news. Their profits, their money requires that people believe they're credible. And when we build something as we are today that is important and powerful and can potentially be historic in this country, they're going to have to cover it if they want to continue to make their money.
Now,
We welcome that. Thank you. Thank you.
as you get underway with your march, how can people go online and find out, at what point in time, where you are as far as the march route is concerned? Like, where are you going to be tomorrow? Where are you going to be next Wednesday? How do people find out that information online?
Very easy. Go to democracyspring.org, democracyspring.org. You can find out all about it. You can sign up to participate. This is just the beginning, right? We're rallying people to join us in D.C. There's over 1,000 people we've spoken to on the phone that have confirmed and committed that they will be there and sit in and risk arrest with us. And I believe this is going to be one of the largest civil disobedience actions of this century and send a message that no one can ignore because people are coming together and standing together. So go to democracyspring.org. If you agree with us that we need a one-person, one-vote democracy, that it shouldn't be the billionaire class that runs our country, join us and be part of this.
Now, I read your intro online as to why you're involved and what your passion is. I want to give you the final word to our viewers so you can tell them why you're impassioned and what's next for iRise.org and democracyspring.org. Final word.
Everyone I love, the people I love, the places I love, the principles that matter to me, this planet that sustains our life is at risk if we do not save our democracy, if we don't have a government that represents us all and not just the 1%. So I know that if I'm going to be okay with myself at the end of the day, I need to step up and be part of this movement. And I believe if you search your heart, you'll see that that's the answer to that same question for yourself.
Democracy Spring is an organization that is challenging big money donations that occur in federal elections. So their goals here today are to generate a movement across this country where every voice and every vote counts. And their position is big money, billionaire dollars are buying elections and not necessarily championing the will of the people. So they're here today. They've got a great crowd today. Their march begins here in Philadelphia on April 2nd. It will go through April 11th, where they will again convene in Washington, D.C., where they have many challenges that they're taking to the United States Senate and the United States Congress on how elections are run in this country today.